Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural Anthem Awards. And so honored to be on this panel with so many amazing creators and leaders from across the country. You all are going to hear some dynamic stories, some impactful stories about racial equity, and I'm thrilled to be able to share the stage with so many outstanding minds who have helped in um, narrating very much what's real and what's happening throughout our country from a multitude of different angles and lenses, so that the stories that need to be told across our country are being shared effectively, across our world, really, are being shared effectively. I am Trevon Williams, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications with the NAACP, and I'm thrilled to be on here to talk about impactful stories with these amazing winners who are part of the inaugural Anthem Awards today. So salute to each and every one of you all in your own rights, because you've done amazing work, and that's why we're here. Um, I thought about this as we were getting ready to come on, because we have so many different names and faces from all across the country that have brought us to this moment. We don't know how we got here. We don't know what everybody's day looked like before we arrived at this moment. But we all arrived at the same moment. We have this opportunity in time. So I want to take a moment to say cheers to your journey. I don't know what happened to you before you got here, but you brought us to this moment today. Speaking about our journey itself, any journey that's worth its salt has a story associated with it, and these amazing leaders have the opportunity to tell us about their projects over the last year that have been able to be impactful in telling the story from their own vantage points themselves. I'm excited to get this kicked off so you all can hear from them. I'm going to shut up. You all can hear from the real minds on this space here. We're going to kick this off with Zarna Surti, Global Creative Director from Nike Purpose. Zarna, the floor is yours to talk about your amazing project.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here with you and to be in this space with all of these amazing creators. We're so humbled as a Nike team to get to be a part of this. Also, definitely want to acknowledge, our incredible leaders, Jonathan Johnson Griffin and Melanie August on the Nike side. Bodega, our amazing agency, and also Partisan, of course, our amazing production partners. So FM Broadcast is an episodic series at Nike. It launched last May, and it truly was just a labor of love from all of us. It came at a time that we really wanted to figure out as a purpose team, what can we build that leaves legacy? What can we build where we can have honest conversations? What can we build as something that is rooted in purpose and not product? When you see, sometimes it's difficult to get ideas like this through, and we were really able to develop a beautiful pathway to kind of have this work out in the world. So season 1 of FM Broadcast was 5 episodes, all centered around Black features in sport and culture. It was hosted by our incredible talent, Janaea Future Khan, who is a civil rights advocate and also one of the founders of Black Lives Matter Canada. We were able to feature topics like Black and Asian solidarity. We were able to talk about the Black queer folks that are really in sport, that are making the change, from coaches to players. We were able to talk to Black Olympians. It was incredible. We had folks like John Carlos. I mean, it was incredible. Ibtihaj Mohammed, Simone Manuel, Naomi Osaka, Marcus Rashford. And to really get to sit down and to have conversations with all of these incredible people alongside everyday coaches, activists, musicians. It was just such a beautiful space to have unfiltered conversations with all of these folks. So it is a global initiative. We were able to talk to everyone from North America to Europe, etc. So it was something that we were so grateful to create. Walking in and seeing a set of amazing brown and Black folks just at every turn was really beautiful. But this is a project that's near and dear to our hearts, and I'm so grateful to be here to share it with you.
Zerna, we appreciate you sharing that. And I take a point of perfect personal privilege, because the NAACP has just had an opportunity to work alongside FM Broadcast just
That's
in the
right.
last several weeks. I think it's like last week, if I'm not mistaken, working
Yes.
with you all. So I'm a little partial, if it was, but very, very partial to this project. But the authenticity of the project itself is amazing. Salute to you all for your ongoing work. And we look forward to this upcoming season.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
course.
We're going to shift very quickly here. I'm going to go to Julianne Zimmerman. She is the managing director for Reinventure Capital. Julianne, do I have you?
Yes. And
Julianne, tell us
thank
about this
you.
amazing project.
Thank you for
No problem.
having us here. And thank you to Anthem Awards for including us in this incredible company of innovators and creatives who are individually and as organizations at the forefront of racial equity. I'm joined here by our partner in this project, our web creator, David Kerr of Kerr Design. And Reinventure Capital, most of you may not even have ever heard of. We are an investment practice based in Boston. We invest exclusively in US-based companies that are led and controlled by BIPOC and or female founders. And we invest in those companies specifically because they are overlooked and dismissed by the venture sector writ large. And we know that they are fantastic innovators and problem solvers, and they are creating real value. So we invest in them to help them grow economic engines that are the creators of wealth and opportunity, the Third Reconstruction. We had already planned to relaunch our website when George Floyd was murdered. And in the immediate aftermath of his murder, we decided to take down our existing website altogether and put up a temporary website that just expressed our solidarity and our commitment to honor the community we love. And that not only resonated so strongly with our team, but it resonated so strongly with our peers and allies that it became the kernel of the new website. It became the design brief. And so everything about the website, everything about the image selection and the layout and the verbiage and the links that we chose to provide, all of it is designed to invite and entice people to deploy capital better, to help make connections among those who are interested so that together we can help knit together a more inclusive, more equitable, more vibrant, more prosperous ecosystem. And we're thrilled at the response that has garnered. And we hope that it will continue to catalyze more capital flowing with our partners and with the founders we adore.
That's outstanding, Julianne, and to both you and David, I salute you all for your efforts. I think we all know that the nation collectively blinked with the unfortunate events that happened with George Floyd. But efforts like this, the projects that you all are spearheading, lead very much into the next step, which is what are we going to do about it? And
Mm-hmm.
so I appreciate Reinventure Capital, you, Julianne, you, David, for stepping up and not just being emotional about the moment, but taking action around the moment as much as possible, so that we can build equity within our communities at large, and that we can build a nation that is more reflective of what we want, what we want to happen. So I salute you all for your efforts and look forward to your ongoing projects, and hope that you all take advantage of being a part and partnering with Reinventure Capital going forward. Thank you both for all your hard work. Excellent, excellent. Outstanding work that we're already seeing from each and every one. I'm going to pivot right on over to Aisha Alexander Young. She is the Chief Executive Officer for Giving Gap. Aisha, do I have you?
You have me. Thank you so much for having us here today. Thrilled to be, especially as a very small startup organization, thrilled to be here amongst the winners and in such great company, and have the opportunity to talk a little bit about our work with you all. So Giving Gap is a donation platform that helps people learn about and give to Black-founded nonprofits. We were founded in 2020 in the wake of a pandemic that disproportionately impacted communities of color and the murder of George Floyd and the following racial justice uprising. So in those moments where an unprecedented number of people, institutions, corporations were posting those Black squares on Instagram, we all remember that, and were proclaiming that Black Lives Matter on social media, our platform was created to simply ask people to put their money where they were claiming their morals are. So what started really as just a viral Instagram post turned into a widely shared Google Sheet, and then eventually became the powerful giving platform Giving Gap with the pro bono design support of our partner Working Co. And thank you to Working Co for helping us be here today. So since our launch, our platform has vetted and cataloged over 800 Black-founded nonprofits and made it possible for over 30,000 users to become everyday philanthropists who have donated over $1 million to Black-founded nonprofits. So we exist simply to build a movement of millions of donors and dollars that are committed to supporting Black-founded nonprofits and Black communities. And this is very important, not only in response to tragedy and trauma, but consistently, so our organizations and communities may thrive and flourish. So every year, Americans give over $400 billion to nonprofits and charity, but only a tiny fraction of that goes to Black-founded nonprofits. And we really believe that through our platform, that we can all come together and close that giving gap for Black-founded nonprofits. And that's the work that we do through this giving platform.
Aisha, this is so incredibly impactful. And I think you hit on some very, very key components, specifically as it pertains to donations and it making into, nonprofit space, small businesses themselves. I think it's incredibly important that we understand that how these funds, even those with best intentions, there has to be people who are responsible for making sure that funds get to those who actually need it the most. And so this is incredibly impactful in its own right. I think you started off your introduction by saying you're a small organization, but I love that framing because I firmly believe in minor moves cause major movements, right? And so you all, even at as a small organization, can make a tremendous impact by laying some groundwork and some runway for somebody to figure out how to do this better. I think there's some consistency that we're hearing too from all of the winners who you've heard, and that's about allyship and partnership.
Absolutely.
Nobody changes anything by themselves. We have to do it in concert. We have to do it with our corporations, with our partners, our thought partners. We have to do it in concert. And this is a great example of what's possible when we are willing to work together and partner behind a vision. So kudos to you, Aisha, and to your team for an outstanding project. Excellent. Thank you for your time, Aisha. Next up, we're going to talk to Franz Pache, SVP of the SVP, Chief Corporate Affairs Officer for PayPal. Franz, I know I probably butchered your last name again, and I apologize even after practicing it, but the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. And I'm used to it. First, it's a real privilege to be part of this panel and to be part of these proceedings. And I want to say that I'm also honored to be here on behalf of the entire PayPal employee community, because the commitments we made and the initiatives we've undertaken were truly the work of our entire community. As the pandemic worsened and in and around the period surrounding the murder of George Floyd, our PayPal community saw that we had a role to play in closing the racial wealth gap. We could see that we work with customers all over the country, and especially small businesses and many minority-owned small businesses. And we could see that Black-owned small businesses were closing at twice the rate of the national average during the pandemic, and for many reasons, many of which were systemic and deep-seated. As a company with our capabilities and our resources, we felt we had to take some significant actions to do our part. We spent a lot of time with our nonprofit partners, with experts, with leaders of social justice organizations and community-based advocates to develop a broad initiative with 4 pillars. Our total initiative and commitment that we made was for a $535 million commitment to work on closing the racial wealth gap in this country. It had short-term, medium-term, and long-term aspects, and including an internal project to do more work within PayPal. The first part was to really go straight at the issue that small Black-owned businesses were closing at an unacceptable rate, and we thought we could get some immediate cash out in the form of grants, not loans, but grants, to Black-owned businesses on main streets all across the United States. We focused on the hardest hit zip codes. We had great nonprofit partners throughout. We distributed $15 million in small grants of between $5,000 and $10,000, but they made a big difference. And we saw that over 90% of the small businesses that we were able to support survived. We didn't leave them just with the grant. We worked with them, brought in other partners, and worked to help sustain them. And I'm proud to say that three of our grantees are right on this slide, and we'll talk more later about their stories. But I should say that that's Jeanette Bolden Pickens, who runs the 27th Street Bakery in Los Angeles. That's Cam Kirk, who runs Cam Kirk Studios in Atlanta, maybe a part of the Atlanta community. And that's Bridget Jeffries of Cafe Wakeform, who has a pet sitting business. And each of these empowerment grantees told their own stories, and we're very grateful to them. Our second pillar was to work with nonprofit partners. We invested $5 million to help with nonprofit partners who are sustaining Black and minority-owned businesses in their communities. As you said earlier, Trevin, we know we can't do this alone. We have a certain amount of expertise, but the deep expertise is held in communities. And we wanted to empower community-based organizations and partner with them. And we provided employee volunteers as well as grants to help work on that. How do you create the support system around small businesses that are struggling in communities of color? The third was a $500 million opportunity fund that we put together in order to invest in minority-led high-growth startups, in venture investing, and in making deposits and investments in minority-owned banks and credit unions. And we have worked to invest those monies all over the country. And then finally, we knew we had to devote resources inside PayPal to make sure that our work on ourselves continued. So we created a $15 million fund to focus on our programs around diversity and inclusion, on making sure that we were doing the hard work, on supporting our employee resource groups, and understanding that if we're going to do this work externally, we needed to do the work internally. So that sums up our program. I'm proud to say that we fulfilled over $510 million of that commitment, and we will complete it shortly.
Franz, this is outstanding, and really appreciate you lifting up this incredible project for a multitude of reasons. One, you hit on something that we at the NAACP feel very strongly about as well, and specifically with regards to building up Black small-owned businesses as much as possible. But beyond the grant itself, you hit on something very key, and that is being able to work alongside them to sustain the business. It does no good for us to be able to keep a business open and we're not reinvesting or training those owners as to what's possible in order to sustain the business. There are people within those communities themselves that are going to gain strength from those small businesses, people that you and I may never have the opportunity to reach.
Yeah, that's right.
But they know the mom and pop shop, they know their local corner store, they know those individuals personally, and that can build a level of inspiration, institutional knowledge, if you will, from a community standpoint, where I can be inspired by seeing the individuals that look like me in my community giving back. And so beyond just giving a grant, the sustainability component that you lifted up is so incredibly vital. And I appreciate you all lifting that up. So kudos to you all for such amazing work as well. Thank you, Franz. Next up, I hope you all are being inspired by what you're hearing, because we're hearing some incredible stories, some incredible projects, and all of this is possible. You just have to have a thought, and you got to be willing to get behind it. And we've seen amazing projects based off of commitment that has taken place throughout these amazing organizations themselves. The next amazing project you're going to hear about comes from Keisha Pollock Porter. She is the chair of the Department of Health and Policy and Management for Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Keisha, thank you so much for being with us.
Great. Thank you for having us, Trayvon. Really appreciate it. I'm just thrilled and honored to be here today with these amazing leaders, and thank the organizers for inviting our organization to this space. Our creative piece is the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health magazine that featured a special section of our fall 2020 issue titled Racism is a Public Health Crisis. And together with me today is Brian Simpson, who's the magazine's editor. I had the privilege of being the guest editor and was able to work with Brian and his team to make this piece come to life. And as you see here, this image is of the cover of the magazine. You know, clearly the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted significant racial inequities in health, which was alongside the murder of George Floyd and many other Black and Brown people. And we wanted to highlight the critical role of structural racism in contributing to health disparities. So we made a decision to focus on how racism specifically affects the health of Black communities. We took an inclusive approach and solicited ideas from faculty. We invited local youth voices and community partners so we can capture their stories. And under Brian's leadership, there was a real emphasis on how do we share those human stories and couple that with evidence, with facts, with data, because there are people that still don't believe that racism is a problem when it comes to health. We also use writers and artists of color, really celebrating the work of our Black faculty and Black designers, and I'm just so proud of this magazine. And it was widely disseminated. We shared it with 29,000 plus print readers and 756,000 plus social media followers and e-newsletter readers. And I would say there were so many diverse responses by email, by phone, by web, by social media. And then the readers were reacting to each other, just responding to each other. And it was the exact kind of engagement we wanted to see as we feel like we help shift the conversation on structural racism and health disparities. And we heard people telling us they use the magazine in their own organization and in their courses. And again, just really excited that we were able to use these visuals and these stories and fact-based information to really highlight the importance of structural racism and health inequities.
Keisha, Brian, this is fantastic. What I think is so telling about the project that you just lifted up is anybody who's a creator knows that the visuals matter. They play a significant part in telling the story. The visuals grab your attention. You all have the unique opportunity in many respects to partner, which look like some really, really dynamic visuals, and then build some substantive data and information behind it that people can really hold on to. It has to be more than an image. It has to be more than a picture. You all had the unique opportunity to get everyone's attention with this amazing project from the visuals, and then really just unpack some long-standing issues within the African American community at large with regards to public health itself. We could not agree more with you at the NAACP that racism is 100% a public health crisis, and seeing you all lean in so heavily in this respect, and then quite frankly, distributing so broadly. That's important, that people understand that this is not something that Black people need to be talking about. This is something that everybody needs to be talking about if we're going to arrive at being the best version of ourselves as a nation as possible. So kudos to you all for this project itself. It's a labor of love, but it's a labor of so much more than that, because in order for us to start to turn the ship, we got to start changing people's minds about what they're seeing, what they're hearing, as much as possible. So I thank you all for the project. It looks amazing. And I hope that if you all have not had an opportunity to peruse this and take advantage of reading into the content, take advantage of the opportunity after hearing what Keisha and Brian have lifted up to hear more about what they've just lifted up. But thank you all for the amazing project.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Now, last on our list, certainly but not least, is Christina Swarns. She is the executive director for the Innocence Project. Christina, you with me?
I'm here.
Christina, tell us about this amazing project. We can't wait to hear.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us to participate, honoring us. And it's really a pleasure to be here with these visionary leaders and organizations. So I'm going to start by asking everyone to do me a favor. Let's all pause for a second and think back to our happiest moments. Your graduation, your wedding day, holding your child for the very first time. These are the moments that warm our hearts and bring us joy and pride and inspiration. And now let's imagine erasing every single one of them. Untold thousands of people in this country, including Hugh Burton, who you see here, have had these incredibly special moments stolen from them by wrongful convictions. Today, there are 2.3 million people in United States prisons. More than 60% of them are Black and brown. Experts say that anywhere from 2% to 10% of that prison population is incarcerated for crimes they did not commit. Founded in 1992, the Innocence Project pioneered the use of DNA testing to scientifically prove innocence. And to date, 375 people who lost a combined 3,600 years of their lives to prison have been exonerated by DNA evidence. 60% of those exonerated people are Black. Can you imagine how many of life's most precious moments were stolen in those centuries? Our work, the work of my organization, powerfully demonstrates that Black people are systematically denied the presumption of innocence in America. The Innocence Project is therefore committed to freeing the innocent, to preventing wrongful convictions, and to creating fair, compassionate, and equitable systems of justice for everyone. Our work is guided by science, grounded in anti-racism, and inspired by the resilience and tenacity of our clients. Our work is not done. Today, we are putting the weight of our organization, including our 1 million advocates, behind a campaign to stop the state of Texas from executing Melissa Lucio on April 27th for a crime that never even occurred. We encourage all of you to join us by texting Save Melissa to 97016 or visiting savemelissa.org. Together, we can ensure that Melissa has more happy moments in her future. Thank you.
You know, Christina, thank you so much for sharing this amazing project. Those numbers are jarring. They're numbers that are incredibly sobering. And they're also realities that many within the Black community have heard and dealt with on a number of different scales.
Yes.
If it's not you, you know someone
That's right.
who's in a system very similar to what you just alluded to. I don't know how many cases, as a member of the NAACP, we've fought to avoid having someone be put to death because of situations just like you just lifted up. And the word that you used that stuck with me the most was tenacity. We have to be tenacious about this. We have to be intentional about this. And one of our board members of the association, she often says, she's in her late 80s and she's still working just as hard for the NAACP. She says, I keep fighting because we haven't won yet.
That's right.
And that's the sort of mindset around some of these amazing projects that we've seen. We fight so hard because we haven't won yet. And so I kudos to you, kudos to the Innocence Project for this amazing work. And we look forward to the ongoing support of efforts like this, because we're all fighting and we know that we haven't won yet. We got so many more battles to fight. So thank you so much, Christina, for that.
Thank you.
These are outstanding stories that you all have all had the opportunity to hear from. I'm going to bring all of our winners back to the stage here for a couple Q&A questions, and just to celebrate this collective strength, these thought leaders in their own rights, these tenacious leaders in their own right, for their amazing work. So on behalf of communities at large, thank you all for your ongoing work. We have so much diversity in projects, but at the end of the day, they're all rooted around increasing and bettering our communities, making them better than they were at the start, right? And we can do a little bit to do our parts. I'm going to pose some questions to you all in our last few minutes because I'd love to hear you all unpack these a little bit. I wrote a couple things down, and feel free to jump in at your leisure here. So all of your organizations collectively work towards fulfillments of visions and missions. Every organization typically has a vision and a mission that you're locked in step on. But we know that over the last few years in particular, some ways our hands have been forced into new and innovative ways into how we go about fulfilling our missions as organizations. What have you all learned from your organizations through this development of your outstanding projects? How has the last few years helped you in either pushing or pulling or going in a different direction, given what we've experienced over the last few years? And that's open to anyone at any point. Or I'm a volunteer somebody.
Right, I could jump in, and I alluded to this in my opening. I think PayPal's been an independent company for 7 years, and we've had a strong mission, vision, and set of values. But I think over the last year and a half or 2 years, we saw a surge of employee commitment and engagement in living our values and seeking to fulfill our mission. And we've seen this with community impact teams. We've seen it in volunteering. We've seen it in research and in the growth of our employee resource groups and in the kinds of dialogues and safe space discussions that we've had throughout the last 2 years. So that has been a huge learning to just see how employee communities can come together and live the mission and live the values.
It's an excellent point, Franz. Aisha?
I'll just second a little bit of what Franz is speaking of. As a new organization that was founded in this moment, we haven't had to, transition in the way that many other organizations have had to. But as a person who's been around and doing this work for a really long time, working for Black founded nonprofits, racial justice movement work, I've been to this show before. I've seen this moment before, and I've seen the spike of support for our organizations, and then I've seen it eventually wane off. And so what we're trying to avoid is that happening again. And so when people ask me what's different about this moment, and going back to what Friends was talking about, and PayPal is another one of our incredible partners, what I see as being truly different is the work that is being done internally. So not just these kind of performative acts that are external and, about making you look good or saying the right thing, but you're actually making that commitment from a values-based standpoint internally as an organization. And that's where things really start to change and last. And you see this employee commitment and the big difference. And so just wanted to call that as a signal of big change here.
And you're seeing that fully. I'm coming to you next, Keisha. We see that playing out. There's a level of transparency that's being described within any organization. DE&I is becoming something that is not being done behind closed doors, but they're intentionally pointing out the efforts are being made. I think Franz alluded to it. Aisha alluded to it as well. But beyond big donors and investments in the moment, it's about changing cultures, and you don't do that overnight with a checkbook. That's about training. That's about being intentional, and that's about, as Franz alluded to, living your values as much as possible as an organization. Keisha, I wanted to come to you and get your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the conversation and say, I think it's fair to say for our magazine, it was really a catalyst for more conversations, for more energy. There have been dedicated funds to support research to say, let's go ahead and figure out solutions to really try to dismantle racism and its impacts on health. Brian and I stood up a monthly column for faculty called Voices Against Racism that grew specifically out of this issue. So every month, faculty could volunteer to write about their perspectives on racism, really uplifting some pretty tough topics. And we had a lot of faculty of color, and also our white colleagues came and said, we can't just talk about being allies. Like, we need to be in this conversation. And so really excited about the momentum and the sustainability we've seen since this issue that came out at the end of 2020.
Excellent point. I see Christina, then I see Julianne.
Thank you. One thing I think everyone is flagging, but I'll just say out loud, was, one of the big lessons for us was remaining nimble, right? And being willing to go where the people were, right? And meet them on the platforms they were existing at, right? We needed to get our message out, and we couldn't stay, traditional, and we couldn't stay safe, right? In this moment, we had to be willing to take risks like this one, right? Making an Anthem story, but also to go to platforms we hadn't been at, to use different mediums of communication to make sure we were able to reach, right, the communities and the people that we knew it was important to reach at any given moment. So I think one of the big lessons for us was to be really willing to take chances and be nimble and try new things, things that weren't, that weren't tried and true, right? To be willing to go out on new and emerging technology and new and emerging platforms and just give it a shot. And I think that has been really important and impactful for us.
I love that. Just go. We have a motto on our team: fail fast. Let's just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we can pivot very quickly. Julianne?
Well, again, it's just so fantastic to be in this extraordinary company of amazing projects and organizations and people. One of the things that we found in the last couple of years is that, Reinventure is carrying forward an investment strategy that my senior partner has been pursuing since the late 1980s, right? So it's not new. And yet we had so many people coming to us and saying, like, well, this is unproven and we don't have any evidence that it can work. And so we really just leaned into that conversation about, it's fine if you're making a gestural, performative declaration, but we're not in the same endeavor. And we really started getting very, very much more specific about not only praising and celebrating and amplifying the work of peers and colleagues and allies and founders who are really doing the work, but we also got a lot more frank and a lot more direct about calling out where we said, like, this is just performative. Like, this is not moving the needle, and it's not moving the needle by design. And the really interesting thing that happened as a result of that was, some people canceled their subscriptions to our blogs. They, said, we don't want your newsletter anymore. We're like, okay, sorry, goodbye. But what also happened is that people started coming to us and saying, I'm using this in conversation in my organization. I'm showing my colleagues your blog post, or I'm using the resources that you've posted as a way to advance this conversation in our investment committee, or I've taken this to my partners who are trustees of the endowment, and we're having a conversation that we would not have been having absent these materials. So for us, it was much more about just getting a lot more blunt.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more blunt, and just saying, look, here are the facts. If you don't care to subscribe to reality, that's on you. But here are the facts.
I love it. Zarna, were you going to weigh in on it as well?
Yeah. No, I think really what Aisha said too was really a big piece of it for us, is that internal. I think that this type of work we were doing really fueled what we were doing internally. I think it also helps kind of with the loop of how we really start everything with social and community impact. But how can we actually talk about it and get out in the world and not be afraid to talk about what we're doing behind the scenes?
Absolutely.
And what I love for our creative community is, frankly, it's a lot of these things that brown and black folks have wanted to talk about for a long time. And we've been having these ideas, but suddenly it's like there's a little bit more of an ear,
Absolutely.
And so it was fun to just get to see the team like really be themselves and have ideas that we could actually get out there, that we all started to feel like, hey, this is actually what we do want to talk about. And having people really galvanize behind that and let us really get in there and share some real conversations. I think that just, it opened up a whole new wave for all the folks that were working on our team.
Outstanding. You all just, I'm goosebumps because there's so many different creative spaces, so many different gems that have come out of this conversation. I got one last question in the interest of time that I want you all to weigh in on. Collective, we got to be quick though. So this is going to test your muscles here. This is the inaugural year of the Anthem Awards, and your projects are literally groundbreaking. This is the first of its kind, and you all are, so kudos in that respect. How does the acknowledgement feel for each one of your organizations from your own individual perspective? How does it feel being a part of the inaugural Anthem Awards as a groundbreaking project?
I'll jump in, Trevon.
Yes, sir.
So I think for us, it's an exciting kind of recognition of our work. It's fuel for the fire. It's confirmation that we're on the right track and headed in the right direction. And it's a reason to pause and to celebrate and to be positive in a time that's really, really dark right now. And it's a really, I just feel like, the whole country is still in this, not just the pandemic, but for a lot of reasons. And so for those reasons, I think it's really appreciated.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Aisha?
Yeah, many of the same sentiments. I think for us, it's really just a validation of our work being valuable and necessary, and the space that we're carving out being needed for a number of reasons and for a number of people. And so I hope to come back, to the 5th annual Anthem Awards and talk about our 1 million users and donors and our $1 billion that we've raised for Black founded nonprofits.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Aisha. Zarna?
Yeah. I think it was so nice for our team to get a bit of just the light and the shine and the acknowledgement. I think that we're all just in our day-to-day. I know we're all on Zoom all day, every day. So I think just that acknowledgement, we're really grateful. And it also signifies to our organization, hey, this is working. We can keep doing things like this. So we're really, really grateful for the acknowledgement in the space. And it really does make a difference for us day to day to have these types of moments.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts?
I'll jump in and just again echo that it is certainly a validation of the fact that, our work is really on the cutting edge. And it's just a real reminder, right, that fortune favors the bold, right? Take the chances and do the thing. And you will be rewarded for that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christina. Julianne?
We could not possibly be prouder to be, again, included in this crowd and to be part of this inaugural awards. It not only is, as everyone has said, a fantastic and gratifying and humbling endorsement, but it's also another set of opportunities to make new connections for new collaborations, to, form new relationships with co-conspirators, to get up to good trouble together.
There you go. Franz?
Yeah, I would just say, I think we also come with a sense of humility and gratitude for all the good work out there being done that may not be recognized, but there's so much good work being done in our communities. And if we can partner in that way and sort of bring to light some of the great grassroots work being done, that's part of this. That's part of what you're bringing to light here. And so thank you for that.
Outstanding. Keisha?
Yeah, and absolutely echo all the comments, very affirming, and just highlighting the importance of racism for health, for public health, for our communities. And just so excited for the energy and the validation that has come from being here today, and look forward to coming back in the future.
Outstanding. Listen, we're at time. I know I'm going to get dinged here in a minute, but I wanted to thank each and every one of you all for your amazing project. The NAACP has a theme this year called This is Power. It's about inspiring our communities at large to show them that advocacy and partnership takes on a multitude of different facets. And you all are the living embodiment of that as we speak. We have so many different projects that took on so many different angles, and you all help spearhead in changing ideas and mindsets around all of these things. So this is empowering for me to sit in the room and have the opportunity to share the stage with you all. Thank you all who are able to join. I ask you all to continue to go back and continue to support Giving Gap, Reinventure Capital, PayPal, Innocence Project, Nike, Johns Hopkins. Support all these organizations who are doing it right and headed in the right direction. And we're excited to be with you all at the next Anthem Awards. You all take care.